played with some greats like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby and Milton Berle and Don Knotts and a lot of the other great legends. And we just really wanted to honor his life and pay tribute to him today.
You know, I just wanted to honor his message as well, Gail, because the two songs that I would say that he's probably best known for are Give a Little Whistle and When You Wish Upon a Star.
Well, When You Wish Upon a Star was magic. And when you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. And actually, that was his real message. Find something that turns you on, something that gives you joy in life. Believe that if you're meant to have it, your dreams will come true. And he said, I know this is a fact because I'm a living example. And I'll just tell you quickly, when he was 5 years old, he was taken with Jiminy Cricket. And his mother told him, stop talking about Jiminy Cricket. You're making me crazy. And so here it is. He became Jiminy Cricket.
And his mother went crazy.
Yeah. So I really want to send love to his family.
I thank you for that, Gail. Gail Ellen is our editor in charge of art and beauty and fun, too. So she's also the one that went to the Olympics and the Pope's funeral and all these things. Gail goes to really good places, and here she is on Waking Up in America today as we're here with Tim Turner, CW Wright, Gail Ellen, Dr. Debbie Ringchop, myself, Dr. Val Kirkgard, and we wanted to tell you about the Restore America plan. But now we've got a conscience in the background, okay, because we've taken Jiminy Cricket as our mascot for this show. So we're going to do the best that we can to give you the greatest information possible. Now, I know CNN tried to get you on, and you said no, Tim Turner, so I feel really lucky that you're on.
Well, Susan Canbiati called me several times here at the office, but we didn't want to do just ad-lib press releases. We wanted to have a controlled press release. So we routed that through our media director, which is Sam Kennedy, as you know, and because I am trained in media relations. When I worked with FEMA, I was trained in that, and you have to be very careful with the media, as you know, that you have to be careful what you say because it can be twisted very easily. And this process is so important. We want the American people to hear the true side of what's really going on, without the spin of the news media. And I think that, I know they will embrace it once they understand it. And it's going to take an education process. And that's what we're in the process of doing now, is bringing it to the general public in a way that they can understand what we are doing. We're not a bunch of crazies, a bunch of wackos. We're not violent people in any stretch. Actually, we're some of the most nonviolent people on the planet. We don't want problems. We want this thing to go through very smoothly, and it is going through that way.
And the thing that you want to go through very smoothly, what can you tell us about that?
The Restore America plan, of course.
Okay,
and sure, we'd love to share a little bit about that with you. As you know, and you're pretty well up to speed on the Restore America plan, is the return of our country back to the original constitutional government. And I'm happy to say that has been done.
And what year did that end in? What year did it end in, and when did it come back to the day, or do you know?
The Constitution was pretty much suspended in 1861 during the Civil War. It was replaced in 1868 through 1871 with a new Constitution and a corporate government. And,
but that new Constitution was never approved by the people, right?
Right. The Constitution had to be ratified by the people under our system of government, but it never was. So it was not a lawful. The corporation of the United States that was incorporated in 1868 was nothing more than a municipal corporation with a jurisdictional area of 100 square miles, which we know as the District of Columbia.
And very good connections, okay? They had very good connections to pull this off.
Yeah, well, they did it behind closed doors. If the people would have known about the change, they would have probably had an uprising in this country if the people would have known, but they didn't.
And still, people don't really know what's going on, so...
They did a wonderful job. Some brilliant men involved. They did a great job of brainwashing the public, but now the cat is out of the bag. people are beginning to understand. People are learning about this.
You were saying this is actually just a global thing, right? It's not just an American thing. This is a global conversation?
Right. What we did is we, under the direction of people in our own government, in the American government or United States government, they were concerned about many issues in the world. Treaties being signed that would do away with the sovereignty of America was primarily one of their biggest concerns. Another was the economy. And they realized that the corporation in Washington is absolutely out of touch with the people. They are not working for us anymore. In fact, Washington, D.C. was deeded to the International Monetary Fund in 1944. We don't even own Washington anymore.
What? Go back and say that one again.
In 1944, the Washington, D.C. was deeded to the International Monetary Fund by the Bretton Woods Agreement.
And who signed that?
A number of people in Congress and the President.
And the reason we signed, we gave the IMF all this,
yes.
Our capital was?
Well, because that's who we work for now. That's who Congress works for, is the IMF. They don't work for us.
Okay, so tell our poor listeners who are probably gasping in shock, some of them, what the significance of the IMF is in this whole game we're playing here.
Well, the IMF, you got to understand, is made up by a group of wealthy people across the world, some of the most wealthy people in the world, that own most of the banking industries across the world. And it is an organized conglomerate of bankers that have taken control of most governments in the world. In reality, there are a few governments they don't control, but for the most part, that's what is going on in the world, is these bankers run the world, because the golden rule still applies. He who has the gold rules, and that's the way it's always been, and I guess that's probably the way it always will be. But the bottom line is that the American people were brought into this deceptively, and what we're trying to do is restore the American people and give them back their property, do away with all the illegal taxes that they're being charged. Now, that doesn't mean we're tax protesters. We are not tax protesters. I want to make that very clear. We believe in paying fair taxes. We're not deadbeats.
What kind of fair taxes, or how is that going to work out? I've had a number of people actually ask me that question.
Well, our government didn't have an income tax, a federal income tax, until 1916. What did they do before that?
Yeah, I know. What did they do before that?
Well, they used the same thing that they still do today. See, this is a ruse that was brought upon the people. The income tax never went to support your government. It went to pay the International Monetary Fund. All of the money that's collected through the income tax system goes to the IMF. It does not go into any goods and services or infrastructure or repairs or maintenance for this country whatsoever.
So back in the 80s, I went to the Denver Mint, and I found out they made $3 million worth of quarters a day, and they sold them to the Federal Reserve. And I'm assuming that we don't get any of that money either.
Well, what they did is they sold them to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve sold them back to your government and made a premium on them.
Actually, the Federal Reserve paid 25 cents for them, so it seems to me like the guy that was making the premium on them was whoever owns the Denver Mint, and that's probably one of the families, right?
Well, they sold them back to your government for a premium over that, though.
Yeah. I mean, this is what's so outrageous. I mean, we don't get any benefit of any of this.
No, the American people, they've been scammed. They've never benefited. It's all been a scam on the American people from the beginning. It was all planned that way.
Well, right now, Tim, I want to just do
back right after the Civil War and bring us into the Federal Reserve System in the 1880s, and it didn't fly because the Congress wouldn't let them do it. But in 1913, they finally successfully did that. And they did it by deceptive means there as well. But the bottom line, the Federal Reserve System has created a hypothetical debt that they claim that we owe. That debt was created out of absolutely